Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS College Football Week 14. We're on to Saturday. Apologies for this video. The holiday threw me off. Normally, I stay up late. I'm pretty much pulling all-nighter on Thursday night, making the Saturday video. But obviously this week, first I had to see my family. And then because there was a slate on Friday, Thursday night we had to do a long live for the Friday games. So the holiday kind of just threw my week off. This is definitely going to be shorter than the normal Saturday videos. But at the end, whatever games I don't get through, I'll do like a rapid fire and let you know what I like in them. So yeah, Saturday, week 14, last full college football Saturday of the year. Let's do it. I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. Texas Tech is on the road in Morgantown to play West Virginia. Texas Tech is sitting atop the Big 12 conference standings right now, but they need to win this one. They can't afford to take their foot off the pedal. A win here clinches them a spot, obviously, in the Big 12 championship game. But if they lose, there is a scenario where they don't get in. So Texas Tech needs to win this one against West Virginia. Senior day here in Morgantown. It's senior day for the Mountaineers. As far as the Texas Tech offense against the West Virginia defense, it looks like Baron Morton will start at quarterback. He was banged up. He's currently listed as probable. So it looks like we are going to see Baron Morton at quarterback. This West Virginia defense, let's give them a little bit of credit. On the season, they're 47th in success rate, 64th in PPA per play. Look at their last 4 games. This team is allowing 26.3 points per game. That's partially because they run at such an insane pace. So, West Virginia, one of the fastest-paced teams in the country, they're holding teams to 5.11 yards per play, success rate under 37%. Look specifically at their defense against the run. In the last 4 games, they're holding their opponents to 2.5 yards per carry, 34% success rate per rush, 88 rushing yards per game. Colorado, Arizona State with Jeff Sims. Colorado is injured. Houston, not the most efficient run game. TCU, not a running team. So we do have to consider the opponents. But Texas Tech on the ground has not been very consistent. So I think it's safe to say Texas Tech may struggle to run the ball in this game, and specifically on the road in Morgantown. Their last 2 home games, West Virginia's been great. In fact, they've played great defense at home in every game except the Utah game so far this year. In their last 2 home games, they almost beat TCU, came down to the wire, and then they beat Colorado, and they held those 2 teams under 32% success rate in that game, under 4.8 yards per play. Remember, West Virginia beat Pitt in Morgantown. This is not an easy out. Pittsburgh's battling for a possible ACC championship appearance here. They couldn't even beat West Virginia in Morgantown. Pitt just went on the road to Georgia Tech and smacked Georgia Tech around. They couldn't even beat West Virginia in Morgantown. And we're talking about a Texas Tech offense that has some serious-looking home-away splits here. In their home games, they're averaging 47.9 points per game, almost 7.1 yards per play. They've been electric in Lubbock. But look at the road games. They're averaging 33.5 points per game, success rate under 41%, 5.8 yards per play. Still a great offense, but not nearly as efficient as their numbers at home. West Virginia plays great defense at home. Texas Tech probably won't be able to run it. Baron Morton, historically, over the course of his career, he's been much better at home in Lubbock. We've seen him struggle on the road. I don't think it's crazy to say West Virginia's defense can really give Texas Tech some problems. I truly think West Virginia could play a solid defensive game here. It's the other side of the ball. This is where it's like, I mean, Texas Tech's defensive line. Honestly, you put Oklahoma, Ohio State, top of the country as far as best defensive lines. Texas Tech is somewhere up there. They're probably in top 5, top 10 in the country when it comes to defensive line. They lost a defensive tackle probably about a month and a half ago. Didn't even seem to affect them. They're 3rd in success rate, 2nd in PPA per play. Now, this West Virginia offense, they're definitely better than their season-long numbers show. They're 115th in success rate, 110th in PPA per play. Since making the quarterback change, they have been better, but they're still not great. They're also dealing with some injuries. Their RB Hubbard will miss this game. Remember, they're already missing Jaheim White and Edwards, their other running back. So coming into this one, they're going to be rocking with their 4th and 5th string running backs. The Hubbard just got injured in their last game against Arizona State. So 4th and 5th string running backs in this one for West Virginia. Like I said, the offense has been better. Look at their last 4 games since they made the official quarterback change over to Scotty Fox. 28.5 points per game, 5.13 yards per play, 37.4% success rate. Still not good, but miles better than the offense we were seeing before they made the quarterback change. So West Virginia is playing better offensively, but the idea of West Virginia moving the ball in Texas Tech's defense is, it seems more of a fantasy than a reality. Now, you would think Scotty Fox is a guy, the ball is out of his hands quickly. That's how Rich Rod likes to run his offense. Scotty Fox delivers the ball 2.15 seconds. So you would think against an elite pass rush like Texas Tech, hey, this is actually a good matchup. Scotty Fox gets rid of the ball so fast, he can neutralize the pass rush. But here's the thing. Texas Tech doesn't blitz. They generate that pass rush with just their front four. So sure, Scotty Fox gets the ball out of his hands quickly, but Texas Tech should have defenders everywhere to close quickly. I'm not expecting a bunch of yak here, which is what a lot of the West Virginia offense relies on. So, no, I'm not expecting West Virginia to have a successful offensive game here. I would love to take an under. I think West Virginia's defense can give Texas Tech some problems. I think West Virginia's offense is really going to struggle. Problem is, 52.5, we're talking about Texas Tech versus West Virginia. This might be one of the most fastest paced games of the year. Texas Tech 21st in pace, with West Virginia 4th. So how can we take an under in a game that might be rapid fire? We might see possession. Might see a really fast-paced game here. I would love to take the big number with West Virginia, 23.5, but I just really can't trust the offense to score points. Texas Tech, they've had no problems blowing teams out. They have 10 wins on the season. All 10 were by 22 or more points. All 10 of their wins were by 22 or more points. So they're definitely down to run it up. I guess I'll say under 52.5. I would love to take West Virginia. You know they want to play spoiler here in the last game of the year. They're also playing with energy. They've looked much better. So if you force me to take a side, it would be West Virginia. But I can't responsibly do that. Give me under. Next. East Carolina's on the road at Florida Atlantic. So ECU is mathematically still alive. Oh, wait, no. Okay, so when I wrote this, they were mathematically still alive in the conference championship race. But I believe because North Texas just beat Temple, I believe that mathematically eliminates ECU. So I do not think they're in the conference championship running anymore. FAU is eliminated from bowl eligibility. They're sitting at 4-7. ECU going for their 8th regular season win, looking to finish the season 8-4. That would be the first time since 2014. Been over 10 years since ECU had 8 regular season wins. They got 8 wins a couple times with the bowl game, but this would be potentially the first time they have 8 regular season wins since 2014. ECU's 3-0 lifetime against FAU. In fact, FAU has never even come within single digits of East Carolina. All 3 games lifetime, ECU has beaten FAU by double digits. Now, we were just talking about how Texas Tech, West Virginia should be a very fast-paced game. This one might even be faster. Both of these teams, top 5 in the country in terms of seconds between snaps. This should be an extremely fast-paced game. When we're matching this team up, we're looking at the ECU offense against the FAU defense, and it's just really hard to see a path to FAU making stops here. Now, ECU might be missing their starting left tackle. His name's McCrimmon, I think. Jamarian McCrimmon. Apologies if I'm not saying that right. He left their last game, the UTSA game, injured. He's listed as questionable. They might be getting one of their main receivers back, though, Yannick Smith. He missed 1 game. He's listed as questionable as well. He might be coming back. But even if they're missing their left tackle, and even if Yannick Smith doesn't play, this FAU defense isn't very good. They're 92nd in success rate, 106th in PPA per play. We know East Carolina likes to throw the ball with Caden Hauser. Look at FAU's last 2 games. Against Tulane and UConn, they allowed over 343 passing yards per game, 9.3 yards per pass attempt, over 51% success rate per dropback. So it's hard to see a world where FAU is going to keep ECU from scoring 35, 40 points in this game. I think we could chalk ECU up for 35 before the game even starts. The question's going to come on the other side of the ball, because this ECU defense has been excellent. They're one of the best defenses in the conference. They're 19th in success rate, 32nd in PPA per play. The thing is, the way ECU plays defense, they're very strong against the run. 9th in success rate per rush, 15th in PPA per rush. They blitz a lot. So they're very strong against the run, and they blitz a lot. The reason that might actually be a decent matchup for FAU, number one, they don't run the ball. They're 2nd in the country in passing frequency. The coach, Kitley, he comes from Texas Tech. All they do is throw the ball. And number 2, if we switch it over to the Velkamp graphic, the ball is out of Velkamp's hands fast. 2.45 seconds. In fact, he's got excellent numbers against the blitz this year. A 115.5 passer rating against the blitz. Only Byron Brown has a better passer rating against the blitz this year in that conference. It goes Byron Brown with South Florida and then Caden Velkamp as far as best quarterbacks in the American Conference against the blitz. So even though this ECU defense is great, they're elite against the run. FAU doesn't run it. They blitz a lot. That's how they defend the pass. They send different blitz packages. Velkamp's been great against the blitz. So even though this ECU defense is so much better than FAU's offense, I actually think it's a favorable matchup for him. Caden Velkamp also played really well in his last two home games. The last two games in this building, they played Tulsa and UConn. He averaged over 379 passing yards per game, a 117.4 passer rating, over a 130 passer rating from a clean pocket, gets the ball out quickly, like I said. Velkamp's actually second in the entire country in passing yards, second in the country. So I actually think FAU can move the ball. I don't have it in me to take, what is it, at 7 now? Yeah, I can't take the +7 because I can't trust FAU to make a single stop, but we should see such an insanely fast-paced game here. I don't think they can make the total high enough. It's at 66.5. I think we're going to get into the 70s. So it would only be over here. The weather's supposed to be fine. I think ECU could very easily score 40+. I think FAU could put 30+ on them right back. So yeah, give me over 66.5. It's wait, I didn't pull the trigger on it, but it would only be over. I don't think they can make this total high enough. We got Kentucky on the road at Louisville for the Governor's Cup. Kentucky playing for bowl eligibility. I believe they're sitting, let me just make sure that's right. I believe they're sitting at 5-6 right now. Yes, they're sitting at 5-6, so Kentucky's playing for bowl eligibility. Louisville not technically playing for anything, but they're currently on a 3-game losing streak. It's a rivalry game. There's no way they're going to be flat. You know they don't want to end the season on 4 straight losses. So, yeah, both teams will be motivated. It's a rivalry game. As far as the matchup, this is crazy on this side of the ball. As far as the matchup between Louisville's offense and Kentucky's defense, the injuries are nuts. So Kentucky's defense is so they can't even field the team right now. That might be a bit of an exaggeration. They just lost another defensive. I believe they were missing 4 of the top 7 members of the secondary last game or something crazy. They just lost another defensive player, linebacker Cameron Olds. That was last week. Now I'm reading there's a chance that a bunch of their injured defensive players are coming back for this one, but I couldn't get a definitive answer. So maybe Kentucky's defense is healthier than it was last week. But on the Louisville side, it's the same story. In fact, the offense might even be even more concerning than Kentucky's defense. Their star wide receiver, Chris Bell, he's not going to play in this game. Their quarterback, Miller Moss, he's questionable. Doesn't sound like he's going to play. Both running backs are out. Isaac Brown and Kewan Brown. Kewan Brown's the guy who has emerged as RB1 while Isaac Brown's been hurt. He's out as well. Duke Watson is going to be the lead back. And I mean, he's been on and off the field with injuries all year. So the battle on this side of the ball, both sides riddled with injuries. Now, Kentucky's defense, you got to keep in mind when you're looking at their season-long numbers, played an SEC schedule. 82nd in success rate, 76th in PPA per play. So you look at this matchup and it looks like, oh, Louisville's offense has the edge. Louisville played a much easier schedule. I wouldn't be surprised if they really struggle to move the ball in this game. It's on the other side of the ball. This is where Louisville has the huge advantage. I'm not sure how we can rely on Kentucky consistently moving the football in this game. Louisville's defense is official. We could talk about the strength of schedule. Oh, Kentucky plays an SEC schedule. But the truth is, Louisville's defense is SEC caliber. This is a top 25 defense here. They're 18th in success rate, 28th in PPA per play. And unlike the Louisville offense, they're coming into this one completely healthy. Louisville's defense is good to go. I think they have one linebacker listed as questionable, but Stanquan Clark was one of their main guys. He was hurt. He's been back for a few weeks now. So yeah, I think Kentucky's really going to struggle to move the ball here. Cutter Boley against the Louisville pass rush. This matchup's just hilarious. He's got a 37.7 pass rating under pressure this year, and Louisville's got probably the second best pass rush in the ACC behind Miami, probably a top 15 pass rush in the country. But I really expect Kentucky to struggle to move the ball here. We just saw Kentucky struggling to move the ball against Vanderbilt's defense. Vanderbilt is an offensive team. Not that their defense is terrible, but Louisville's defense is better than Vanderbilt. So I don't know where the offense is coming from for Kentucky. I do understand why the line is so short. I think Kentucky's defense can play well. Louisville's offense is so limited. They're so injured. So I understand why the line's at 2.5, 3. I think I'd go under here at 46.5. Louisville, you know they're going to run the ball a lot. Kentucky, I'm actually not even really sure what Kentucky's offensive game plan is going to be. I'll go under in this one. This is another one I haven't pulled the trigger on, though. Clemson is on the road in South Carolina for the Palmetto Bowl. That's the name of this rivalry. South Carolina did get them last year, 17-14, but as a whole, Clemson has controlled this rivalry. They're 8-2 in the last 10, 6-4 against the spread. They've actually been even better than that on the road in Columbia. Their last 5 trips to Columbia, they're actually 5-0. They've won 5 straight here, 4-1 against the spread. So Clemson's definitely had South Carolina's number in the last decade. You look at this matchup on this side of the ball, and look, I understand if you think Clemson's going to struggle to move the ball. In fact, I don't even necessarily disagree. Clemson's offense, 54th in success rate, 46th in PPA per play. I do want to point out that Clemson has played a decent-sized portion of the season, missing significant pieces on that offense. Their left tackle, Tristan Lee, missed a bunch of games. Their star wide receiver, Antonio Williams, missed a bunch of games. Their quarterback, Klubnik, missed a bunch of games. Their right guard has missed a bunch of games. So this offense, when we're looking at their season-long numbers, they have been very injured. Now, not necessarily saying that means they can move the ball in South Carolina. South Carolina's defense is 78th and 31st. I think the reason that South Carolina is sitting at a 2.5-point favorite here is the final score of the Louisville game is a little bit deceiving. Clemson probably didn't deserve to win that game. They were held to under 37% success rate, 4.81 yards per play. Meanwhile, the Louisville offense averaged over 6.5 yards per play and almost a 46% success rate. So in terms of efficiency, Louisville was the significantly better team. There was 2 missed field goals in the fourth quarter. There was a lot of crazy things that happened at the end of that game to give Clemson the win. So maybe the market's thinking that final score is deceiving. Clemson was not the better team against Louisville. I guess I could see that. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Clemson struggles to move the ball in this game. South Carolina has been solid on the defensive side of the ball. In their last 5 games, they're allowing less than 25 points per game, 42.1% success rate, 5.36 yards per play. Not that those are elite numbers, but you got Alabama in there. You got Ole Miss in there, Texas A&M. They've seen some high-powered offenses. And by the way, their star edge rusher, Dylan Stewart, I'm reading he's most likely going to play. He was held out of the Coastal game, but I'm reading it was precautionary. So it looks like their star edge rusher, Dylan Stewart, is going to play. Look, if you think Clemson's going to struggle to score, I don't necessarily disagree. It's the other side of the ball. This is where Clemson has the huge advantage. This Clemson defense has been great this year. They're 22nd in success rate, 50th in PPA per play, and South Carolina's offense has been an absolute mess. I think maybe what some people are looking at is South Carolina fired their OC and had their wide receiver coach is now calling the plays. We've seen 2 games of this new South Carolina offense with the new play caller. Look, you can look at those games and say, hey, the offensive numbers look way better. And I suppose they do. Last week, they played a home game against Coastal Carolina. Who cares? The week before that, they looked awesome in the first half, took a 30-3 lead, and they did basically nothing after that against Texas A&M. Couldn't part of that be it was the first half with a new play caller and Texas A&M just didn't have any film on what they were going to do? And then once we saw a few series and South Carolina took a big lead and Texas A&M actually had some film on what they're trying to do, they were able to stop it. I mean, now that there's film on this new play caller, I don't think it's crazy to say that Clemson just schemes up something to stop it. I think Clemson's defense is miles better than South Carolina's offense. Look, I bet this game. I'm on a terrible number. I got Clemson at plus 1.5. It's at a juice 2.5 now. It looks like if you wait it out, you might even be able to get a Clemson at 3 at some point. So the market is telling me this is a terrible bet. Whatever. I think Clemson wins. I'm on Clemson plus 1.5, but market disagrees. Toledo's on the road in Mount Pleasant for what is a huge game here. So Central Michigan and Toledo both sitting at 5-2, both still alive in the conference championship race. So this is a huge game. Both of them sitting right there towards the top. Both have an outside shot. I think Toledo has slightly better chance than Central. Actually, I don't want to misspeak. I don't know the exact implications, but both are still mathematically alive, I believe. So huge game here in the MAC conference. It's senior day for Central Michigan. And I got to say, I understand why the line is up at 11.5. Toledo is the significantly better team. No question. Toledo's much better than Central Michigan. But you look at the matchup on this side of the ball. First of all, it's kind of even. on paper. Toledo's offense is 40th in success rate, 40th in PPA per play. Central Michigan's defense, 52nd and 29. So it's kind of even. But how can we not mention Toledo's home away splits? Because these are nuts looking. In their 6 home games, Toledo's averaging over 45 points per game, over 7.5 yards per play, over 52% success rate. This offense has been unstoppable at home. But look at their road games. Yes, they played tougher competition on the road. But are you crazy? From 46 points per game to 16? They're averaging 16.6 points per game, under 37% success rate, 4.8 yards per play. We're talking about night and day difference. This Toledo offense hasn't looked good at all on the road. And Central Michigan, yes, they played they played some questionable opponents in their last handful of games. Bowling Green's offense is terrible. UMass, worst offense in the country. Western Michigan's offense is pretty good, but it's one-dimensional. Buffalo's offense is terrible. Kent State's offense is actually playing pretty well. So yes, none of those opponents really stack up to Toledo. Toledo's probably better than all those opponents, maybe Western Michigan as a whole. But in terms of offenses, Toledo's is better than all those opponents. But Central Michigan's playing great on this side of the ball. In their last 5 games, they're holding opponents to under 4.7 yards per play, under 36% success rate, under 16 points per game. I just can't see Toledo going on the road where their offenses look broken all year and just marching up and down the field on a Central Michigan defense that's playing pretty well. So, look, I understand Toledo's the significantly better team, but I'm not sure how much I trust the offense in this matchup. Now, on the other side of the ball, this is where there's a huge advantage for Toledo, and this is probably a big reason why the point spread is 11.5. Toledo's defense has been excellent. In fact, I believe the DC just won a defensive coach award for something. But yeah, on paper, they're one of the most efficient defenses in all of college football. They're 4th in success rate, 1st in PPA per play. Huge advantage for Toledo on this side of the ball. I got to say, though, Central Michigan runs an option offense. Remember, their head coach, Matt Drinkall, he comes from Army. He was Army's offensive line coach last year. They run an option. It's a slow grind. It's a unique offense. It's a different type of offense to prepare for. We've seen elite defenses struggle against option offenses because it's just so different. So I wouldn't be surprised if Central Michigan at home is able to move the chains and stay on the field. They also might be getting their backup quarterback, Angel Flores, back from injury. He's missed 4 games. And you might be thinking, well, Kyle, who cares about the backup quarterback? Well, he actually leads the team in rushing. They use a 2-quarterback system. It's an option. So when they bring in Angel Flores, they usually run it with him, and he's the leading rusher. They might be getting him back from injury. He's missed the last 4 games. He's missed the last 4 games and still leads the team in rushing. So I think this number's too big. I don't think it should be above 10. Looks like they opened it up at 9.5, which is probably where I think it should be. So yeah, Central Michigan plus 11.5. I can't believe this is staying up there. I'm not going to add this one. I'm too scared. But yeah, I think this one should be below 10. So Central Michigan plus 11.5 here. Houston is on the road at Baylor. So the announcement for Baylor, Aranda will remain the head coach next season. That was met with some criticism because this year's been certainly disappointing. There were some high hopes for Baylor. A lot of people thought Baylor was going to compete in the Big 12. That obviously hasn't been the case. But yeah, Aranda is safe. He is returning as the coach next year. It's senior day for Baylor, and they are still playing for something. They're 5-6. They're playing for bowl eligibility. So, all right, senior day, playing for bowl eligibility. Coach job is secure. I suppose that's something. I'm not sure how we can trust Baylor to stop anybody on the ground. And I know you look at this graphic and you say, oh, well, Houston can't run the ball. Yeah, I mean, they're 112th in success rate per rush, 131st in PPA per rush. But they do run it a lot, and Baylor just can't seem to stop anybody on the ground. They're 111th and 98th. And look at their last 4 games. They're allowing 5.9 yards per carry, over 222 rushing yards per game, over 48% success rate per rush. So Houston's offense, again, the rushing attack hasn't been very efficient as a whole this year, but Baylor just can't seem to stop anybody on the ground. And also, if you just isolate it to the last 2 games for Houston, 220 rushing yards per game, over 48% success rate per rush, over 4.9 yards per play. TCU's got a better defensive front than Baylor. UCF probably about comparable, but it looks like the run game is coming around a little bit. Connor Wegman hasn't played very well in the last couple games, but like I said, I think Houston should be able to run the ball in this one. On the other side of the ball, we got Baylor offense, which is obviously the strength of the team, but it seems to be trending in the wrong direction. On the season, they're 49th in success rate, 49th in PPA per play. Houston's defense has been really strong this year, 48th and 39th. You look at Baylor's offense from the last 5 games, 26.2 points per game. This is supposed to be the strength of the team. 5.13 yards per play, 41% success rate. I'm not sure how much I trust Baylor in any capacity right now. Now, it should be a good matchup on paper. Houston is the defense that blitzes a lot. Sawyer Robinson's a guy who gets the ball out quickly. He's got solid numbers against the blitz, solid numbers under pressure. So it should be a solid matchup for Baylor, but I'm not laying a strong 2.5 with this team. Houston's defense has been great. So if you forced me to take a side, it would be Baylor, but I'm not doing that. It would only be, I guess, over. The total's being bet down, I think, because of the wind. It's supposed to be 15 to 20 mile an hour winds. So I guess they're thinking not much downfield throwing, but I really don't know on this one. It would be Baylor or over. As you could tell, I had problems finding. Rivalry weekend is hard. It's great football, but there's a lot of unpredictability in this week, or at least in my opinion. So, yeah, nothing here. Ohio State on the road in the Big House. We all know the lore here. Michigan's won 4 in a row. Last year, Michigan won outright. They were 20.5-point underdogs. I'm sure anyone who follows college football knows the situation here with this game. You don't need me to break this one down too deep. Michigan has not won 5 in a row against Ohio State since the 1920s. The 1920s is the last time Michigan won 5 in a row. So they're looking to snap that streak, looking for 5 straight wins against Ohio State. What makes this one even more electric is the fact that it's kind of a Big Ten championship semifinal. If Ohio State wins this game, they're in. That would put them at 9-0 in conference. That would put them directly into the Big Ten championship game. If Michigan wins, they need one of Indiana or Oregon to lose. So, I mean, they're not definitely in if they win. So, yeah, it doesn't get better than this. You got Ohio State, Michigan, one of the greatest rivalries in all of sports, and it's basically a playoff game, which is just awesome. So let's match these two teams up on the field. Obviously, we know Ohio State's going to have the edge on both sides when we're looking at these numbers. Ohio State's arguably the best team in the country. They were arguably the best team in the country last year as well. There are injury concerns here. Obviously, the star wide receivers for Ohio State, I'm sure you've heard it talked about a bunch of times. Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. Tate's been injured. Jeremiah Smith just recently banged up. I'm reading they're optimistic that both will play. I'm not sure if there's been any updates on that. Last time I looked, they were optimistic both will play. Who knows what that means? Michigan's got some injury concerns on the defensive side as well. Their main linebacker, Ernest Hausman, he's the leading tackler on the team. He didn't play against Maryland. He's questionable. And their star safety, Rod Moore, who had missed all that time, finally came back. He's likely out for the year. So we got injury concerns on the Ohio State offense and the Michigan defense. This Michigan defense has been lights out. In their last 5 games, they're allowing just 17 points per game, 4.55 yards per play, under 38% success rate. Do have to question the strength of competition a little bit. In their last 5 games, the strongest offense they've seen is probably Washington. And Washington played that game missing 2 starters on the offensive line. So the toughest offense they've seen in their last 5 is a hobbled Washington offense. If you rewind back to the USC game, which I would say is the last time Michigan has seen an offense that's comparable to Ohio State, Michigan got lit up. They allowed over 7.3 yards per play, over 60% success rate in that game. The defense got lit up by USC. It's a little bit different. USC's offense in SoCal, in that environment, is electric. This is in the cold in the Big House, so it's a little bit different. But the thing is, when it comes to this Ohio State offense, we were just questioning the strength of competition in Michigan's last 5 games. You can kind of say the same thing for Ohio State's offense and the defenses they've seen. The only 2 games on their schedule where they saw defenses that are comparable to Michigan's defense was the opener against Texas, where that offense didn't do anything. Now, it was Julian Saint's first start, so a little bit of an excuse there. It was also 3 months ago, so I'm not sure how valuable that data point is. And then the other game against Penn State, this graphic's wrong. It says week 1. I think that was like week 9 or 10 or whatever it was. The other comparable defense they've seen to Michigan would be Penn State's defense, and they lit Penn State up. However, that game was a little weird. Penn State actually made it interesting in the beginning. They had Grunkemeyer making his second career start. Both those games were at home in Columbus. So as much as I'd love to say, Ohio State's offense is too good, they're going to steamroll Michigan's defense like they steamroll everyone else, I don't think that's accurate. This Michigan defense, one of the toughest games on their schedule. They're also on the road against a tough defense for pretty much the first time all year. There could be some snow involved, some cold environment, hostile environment. Place is going to be a crime scene. I think Michigan's defense is going to give them all kinds of problems. I think Michigan could play a great defensive game here. Now, you might be thinking, okay, yeah, well, Michigan will play a great defensive game, but how are they going to score? It's a very fair question because Ohio State's defense is 13th in success rate, 4th in PPA per play. Michigan's offense has been strong, but against who would be the follow-up question on that. Michigan's offense 19th in success rate, 33rd in PPA per play. I was talking about this on the live stream. When it comes to Ohio State's defense, you sound like a crazy person trying to pretend like it's not good. It's dominant. It's one of, if not the best defense in the country. I will say, we know what Michigan's going to do offensively. We're going to see a downhill, physical rushing attack. That's how they played Ohio State in the past, especially in this weather at home. They're going to try to play bully ball on the offensive side of the ball. I have to ask, what game on Ohio State's schedule matches that? What downhill rushing attack have they seen all year? The only one I could say is comparable is the Penn State game in Week 10. Now, Penn State is a good physical run game. That was Gronkemeyer at quarterback, making his second start in Columbus. This is a little bit different because Underwood, although he hasn't been excellent, he's been starting all year. He's experienced and is at home, and it's at home in the big house. I don't think it's crazy that Michigan is able to run the ball in this game. You take a look at Michigan's body of work. The only game where they weren't able to successfully run the ball was Week 2 on the road in Norman. That was Underwood's the second start of his career, his first road start. Oklahoma might have the best defensive line in the country. Other than that, in their other 11 games, they average over 232 rushing yards per game, 5.77 yards per carry, over 52% success rate per rush. Now, Justice Haynes, their star running back, I believe he's still going to be out, but Jordan Marshall is back, and that kid was running the ball well earlier in the season. In fact, apparently Jordan Marshall could have returned last game for against Maryland, but apparently they were holding him out for this game. So Jordan Marshall should be back. We've only seen Michigan struggle to run the ball once all year, and that was on the road against the best defensive line in the country in Bryce Underwood's second career start. Now, something that's a little bit concerning here for Michigan, one of their team captains, Max Bredesen, who's a fullback, H-back tight end. He's an important piece when it comes to running the ball. He's one of the lead blockers there. He will most likely be missing this game, and that's a key loss. So that's definitely a key missing piece for this Michigan offense, but I still think Michigan's going to be able to run the ball a little bit in this game. A little bit. I'm not expecting them to bulldoze Ohio State's defense. I'm just saying I think they'll be able to run the ball a little bit. Now, as far as Bryce Underwood trying to throw the ball against this Ohio State secondary and against this Ohio State pass rush, good luck. It's going to be quite the struggle here. Now, Ohio State most likely will be missing their nickel, Lorenzo Styles Jr. He left the Rutgers game. I think he's listed as questionable. I'm not sure if he's been officially ruled out, but it looks like the Ohio State might be missing a starter in the secondary, but I still don't expect Underwood to do much through the air. It's not like he's been terrible under pressure, but Ohio State's pass rush in the secondary, it's about as good as it gets in college football. Now, in terms of the explosive plays, check this out. Ohio State's offense, 128th in the country in explosive play rate. Michigan's defense, 4th in explosive play rate allowed. Ohio State's defense, 1st in explosive play rate allowed. Michigan's offense, 124th. So these two offenses are both bottom 12 in the country in explosive play rate, and these two defenses are both top 5 in the country in explosive play rate allowed. That is just heavily pointing towards an under. No big play. On paper, we should not see a single big play in this game. Now, football games are not played on paper. In fact, I kind of do think we're going to see a couple big plays, even though this graphic would indicate we shouldn't. Look, as far as betting this game, with the weather edited, I don't know how I can accurately price it and place a bet thinking I have an edge. It's going to be awesome, obviously. I want to be on Michigan at double digits. I think Michigan can run the ball a little bit, and I think Sayin could struggle. That place is going to be going nuts. Should be an awesome game. Give me Michigan plus 10. I had said on the live stream, I also lean towards an over, but I don't have any really good logic for it. I think my score prediction was 27-24. So give me Michigan plus 10. Give me the over. But as of right now, I think I'll bet Michigan plus 10 for fun. So yeah, give me Michigan. That's my pick for this one. Let's move over to the ACC for a huge one. We got Miami on the road at Pitt. So it looks like, you look at the standings, Pittsburgh's currently sitting in 2nd in the conference, but unless I read this incorrectly, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, I believe if Pittsburgh wins, they're not guaranteed a spot. I think they need one of SMU or Virginia to lose. So I don't think Pittsburgh controls their destiny. I might be wrong on that. Miami can still get into the conference championship, but they need all kinds of help. Here's a list of the scenarios that Miami would need to get into the conference championship. You could see very thin. I think it's like 0.4%. That's their chances of getting into the ACC championship. It's something crazy. It might be higher than that. I'm not sure. So basically, Miami is not playing in the ACC championship, but they're sitting at 9-2. If they win this game, they're sitting at 10-2, and they can very likely get into the college football playoff, where there's already controversy. And I'm sure if you watch college football media, YouTube, I'm sure you already heard people talking about this. So Miami is currently sitting below Notre Dame in the AP polls, and that's interesting because if it comes down to it and they put Notre Dame in the college football playoff over Miami, remember, Miami beat Notre Dame. So I can already see Twitter going nuts about that. How are you going to put Notre Dame in over Miami when Miami beat Notre Dame? Simple answer, because Miami's the better, because Notre Dame's the better team. Simple answer, it's just their regular season games. That's one data point to come to an overall conclusion. The AP poll is, who do you think the better team is? And most people think Notre Dame's the better team. That's why. But you can already see Twitter going nuts about that. But anyway, Miami's offense against Pittsburgh's defense. This is going to be a tough matchup for Miami offensively. Pittsburgh's defensive front seven is about as good as it gets. They're 6th in success rate per rush, 10th in PPA per rush. And that's not, look, these numbers aren't schedule adjusted. This run defense is SEC level. This is an elite run defense. Now, Miami's offense is getting a couple key pieces back, and I don't feel like it's getting talked about enough. Their main running back, Mark Fletcher Jr., he only missed a game and a half, but he's coming back for this one. One of their main receivers, CJ Daniels, he's back as well. He hasn't played in over a month. So Miami's been playing the last month without one of their main receivers. So they're getting their main running back and their wide receiver too back as well. Now, Pittsburgh was missing their 2-star linebackers there, Kyle Lewis and Rasheem Biles. Both have been back for a few games now. So Pittsburgh's defense is also healthy. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Let me correct that. Their defensive tackle, Sean Fitzsimmons, he's most likely going to miss his second straight game. So Pitt's defense isn't completely healthy. They're missing a defensive tackle. Other than that, they're good to go, though. Pitt has a great pass rush, and Carson Beck has struggled under pressure. He does tend to get the ball out quickly, though. So there's something you like if you're betting Miami. 2.39 seconds is a very quick release. So there's something to deal with the pass rush. And Carson Beck, he's received a lot of criticism, and probably rightfully so. But we do have to give him some credit. I mean, he's been essentially perfect in his last 3 games. A 139.7 NFL passer rating, 286 passing yards per game in his last 3. The 2 big games, the Louisville game or the SMU game and the Louisville game, I think were the 2 where he took a ton of criticism for, threw the interception to essentially lose the Louisville game, but that interception won me my under, so I appreciated it. Let's give him some credit, though. 3 excellent games in a row. Now, Pitt's going to be the toughest defense he's seen in a while, and it's also supposed to be a bit on the cold side. Someone was talking about this on the live show. Miami, I think the record was, I forget, I think it was 17-24 or 16-24 when it's below 55 degrees, which is certainly not great considering it's supposed to be mid-30s. So if you're on Pitt, you're loving the cold weather. Miami doesn't have the best track record playing in cold weather. I personally think the weakness of this Pittsburgh defense is the secondary. I think Carson Beck can play pretty well, but if you don't trust Miami's offense here, I can't say I completely blame you. This Pittsburgh defense is very good. Where I love the matchup for Miami is on the other side of the ball. This Miami defense is about as good as it gets. They're 12th in success rate, 11th in PPA per play. I'm not sure the status of Desmond Reed. That's Pittsburgh's star running back. He's kind of been on and off the field all year. This Pittsburgh offense has shown flashes. On the season, they're 95th in success rate, 60th in PPA per play. What I don't like about this matchup is Heinzel against the Miami pass rush, because this is a very, very strong pass rush. This Miami defense is also healthier. Get this. Defensive tackle David Blay Jr. is expected to return after missing 2 games. Their corner, O.J. Frederick Jr., he's expected to return after missing 4 games. And their safety, Jacoby Thomas, he left last week's game after 13 snaps. There were some concerns. He returned and is practicing fully, not going to miss any time. So they're getting 2 starters back on this defense. And look at Heinzel. Has a tendency to hold on to the football, has struggled under pressure. He's struggled against the blitz. This Miami pass rush is a nightmare matchup for Heinzel. And look, I know this Pittsburgh offense has looked pretty good recently. Look at their recent schedule. I mean, Syracuse, NC State, Stanford. Georgia Tech's defense has been a mess recently. The only respectable defense they've seen in their last 5 games is Notre Dame, and they got completely smoked in that game. They got beat 37-15 at home in that game. So, look, I know a lot of people like Pitt plus the 7 in this one. I think Miami's going to rout them. I think it might be a blowout. Miami needs to put an exclamation point on this game. Keep in mind, it's probably going to come down to the committee looking at 10-2 Miami, deciding if they're going to put them in. And I think a 41-10 win over Pitt really puts the exclamation point down. So I think Miami needs some style points here. I think they're going to blow them out. Give me Miami minus the points. I said if I got a 6.5, I would bet it. I never saw one. So it's Miami minus 7. If there's ever a 6.5 at an affordable price, I'll bet it. Give me the Canes. Blowout. Western Kentucky's on the road at Jacksonville State. Huge game here in Conference USA. So winner of this game goes to the conference championship. Loser can still get in, though. So the loser can still get in. If Kennesaw State loses to Liberty, then both of these teams, they will play this week, and then these two teams will have a rematch next week in the conference championship game. That's what happens if Kennesaw State loses to Liberty. Now, the reason that's kind of funny is because that's exactly what happened last year. These two teams played in the final game of the regular season, week 14, this exact week. Western Kentucky beat Jacksonville State. That was at home at WKU. They won 19-17. Then the two teams had a rematch in the conference championship. We might see the same thing again. Jacksonville State dusted them in the conference championship. I had Western Kentucky in the game. I remember it vividly. Final score was 52-12. So if Kennesaw State loses to Liberty, it doesn't matter what happens in this game. These two teams are going to play back-to-back weeks. Obviously, they'd be playing for home field at that point. So let's talk about the matchup. Western Kentucky, since Rodney Tisdale Jr. took over at quarterback, we've seen 4 games. They're 3-1 straight up, 4-0 against the spread. Their only loss was on the road at LSU. They lost 13-10. That was last week. They went to Death Valley and almost beat LSU. It was 13-10. So since Rodney Tisdale took over at quarterback, Western Kentucky's been playing some good football. What makes it a little weird, he's the quarterback and the offense doesn't look good. In the last 4 games, 5.3 yards per play, 42.1% success rate. The offense hasn't even looked good. It's the defense that's winning them these games. Their defense has been excellent. 20.5 points allowed per game, 35.2% success rate, under 5.1 yards per play. They're going to be put to the test, though. They're on the road against Jacksonville State, and it's not that Jacksonville State is some dominant entity, but they've been really good in this building. They're undefeated, a perfect 4-0. They're 3-1 against the spread. The only time they didn't cover, they were laying 36.5, and they won by 35 against Mercer. That's the only time they covered. In fact, I believe in their other 3 games, they were underdogs in all 3, won all 3 outright. This is a Jacksonville State team that has won 10 home games in a row. Remember, they were undefeated at home last year. 10 consecutive home wins for this Jacksonville State team. As far as the matchup between Western Kentucky's offense against Jacksonville State's defense, Western Kentucky has the edge in terms of the season-long numbers. They're 46th in success rate, 68th in PPA per play. Jacksonville State's defense, 75th and 83rd. Like I said before, the offense hasn't been great, though, with Rodney Tisdale Jr. They're winning games, but not because of the offense. I've always trusted Tyson Helton. I'm sure he can scheme up a few scoring drives on this one. And check this out. This is actually kind of crazy. So Jacksonville State blitzes a lot. They're 30th in the country in blitz rate. Rodney Tisdale, unreal numbers against the blitz, a 133.7 NFL pass rating. And check this out. These are the best quarterbacks in college football against the blitz. Blake Horvath from Navy, Julian Sayin, Ohio State, then Rodney Tisdale, and then Gunnar Stockton. His name against the blitz is up there with 3 Heisman Trophy candidates. How crazy is that? 133.7 NFL passer rating against the blitz. Now, is that enough for us to fully trust Western Kentucky's offense on the road here? I'm not sure, but it's certainly interesting. It's really on the other side of the ball. This is where I like the matchup for Jacksonville State. It comes down to one thing when you're playing Jacksonville State. Are you able to stop Cam Cook or not? That's their running back. He leads the entire country in rushing yards. All Jacksonville State does is run the ball. They're 6th in the country in rushing frequency. This is a run game that's been absolutely dominant in this building. In their 4 home games, they're averaging over 6.4 yards per carry, over 51% success rate per rush, 296 rushing yards per game. So nobody's been able to stop Cam Cook in this building. And look, the Western Kentucky defense has been great. That's why they're winning games. We just talked about it. But if you look at Western Kentucky's defensive game logs on the year, I mean, they've been pretty good against the run. They've gotten run on a few times. What rushing attacks have they seen? They've seen all passing offenses. Middle Tennessee, passing offense. New Mexico State, Louisiana Tech. FIU can run the ball a little bit, and they did run the ball in Western Kentucky. Delaware, passing offense. Missouri State, passing offense. Nevada, terrible offense. Toledo, there's an offense that can run the ball a little bit. They had 307 yards rushing on Western Kentucky in that game. So Western Kentucky, they've played all teams that can throw the ball, and that plays into their strength because their strength is the pass rush. I think Jacksonville State could run the ball in this game. I don't know how you lay 2.5, 3 points on the road against a team that hasn't lost at home yet, especially a team that's won outright 3 times as a home dog. It's Jacksonville State for me here. I haven't placed this, but yeah, you know what? I'm going to add it. Give me Jacksonville State +3. Let's head down to the SEC. We got LSU on the road at Oklahoma. Oklahoma is no longer in the SEC championship race. They're mathematically eliminated, but they're playing for a playoff berth. They're sitting at 9-2, 8 in the AP polls. Oklahoma wins this game, they'll be 10-2. They're not going to drop 4 spots. If Oklahoma wins this game, they're essentially in the college football playoff. All that being said, I kind of want to take LSU here. I know they've been absolutely terrible. They actually almost just lost a home game to Western Kentucky. And look, when it comes to the matchup, I don't know how LSU is going to move the ball. Their offense has been a problem all year. They're 90th in success rate, 106th in PPA per play. Oklahoma's defense is still going to be missing R. Mason Thomas, who's one of the best players on the team, but he's missed 2 or 3 games now, and the defense has looked fine. This is one of the best defenses in the country, if not the best defense in the country. They're 2nd in success rate, 6th in PPA per play. Van Buren is going to be starting at quarterback for LSU. In my opinion, that helps them. Not that I think he's better. It's just he's athletic. He's capable of running for his life, which is what he's going to be doing here. So I think Van Buren kind of helps LSU in this particular matchup because Nussmeier would just get crushed by this pass rush. So at least Van Buren is capable of running for his life. Regardless, I'm not expecting LSU's offense to do much. It's the other side of the ball. This is where I think LSU can really put up a fight here. Their star linebacker, Whit Weeks, should be back finally. He came back in a limited capacity last week against Western Kentucky. Should be fully back for this one. Their star corner, Mansour Delane, also should be back for this game. He didn't play last week. And Oklahoma, what's been the concern with this Oklahoma offense? Well, there's actually been a few concerns here with the Oklahoma offense. One, Mateer isn't playing well at all. And 2, the health of the offensive line. Well, they just took a serious hit. Keep in mind, this Oklahoma offensive line is already missing their starting left guard. They're already missing 2 backups. So this is an Oklahoma offensive line that's been throwing 3rd strings in there, 4th strings. They've had injury problems on the offensive line all year. They just lost their starting center, Jake McCullough, who he's one of only 2 players on the Oklahoma offensive line that have played this entire season. We've seen a revolving door at guard. We've seen a revolving door at tackle. This Oklahoma offensive line has been a mess. But Jake McCullough at center has been the constant. He is now out, which means their only healthy guard, they are now shifting over to center. They're missing a guard. They're missing a backup guard. So they're a mess on the offensive line. And this LSU defense is healthier than it has been. This LSU defense has actually been pretty good most of the year. I think Oklahoma's going to struggle to run the ball. Mateer hasn't played well for a while. I've had my finger to the pulse of this Oklahoma team, and I like them in a lot of different spots. I faded them in different spots. Laying double digits against a good defense with a key injury to the offensive line, no way. I think this game comes down to the wire. I actually think LSU plays them tough. I'm waiting because the number's going up. I see an 11 now. Give me LSU +11. So unfortunately, I got to cut it off there. I got to get started on this NFL video. This week's a nightmare for me. I mean, it's an awesome week in terms of watching football. It's the best. But in terms of my job, it's such a tough week. But yeah, some games here at the end. Kind of like Vanderbilt. I talked about it on the live show. Vanderbilt at 3 or better. I didn't bet that one, though. Duke is now down to 1.5. I think it's getting into the playable range. Didn't take that one. I did take the over in the Army UTSA game. I'm on that. Was it at 50.5? 50? Yeah. I got over 49.5, I think, is what I got. But yeah, I mean, UTSA in the Alamo Dome, they score, I think they average 48 points per game in that building, and Army has no secondary. So I know Army is not exactly an over team, but I mean, UTSA which always just scores 1,000,000 points in that building. I wouldn't even hate a UTSA minus the points there. So I'm on the over in that one. Southern Miss, it's at 6.5. I don't hate the Southern Miss side. I also don't hate an under there at 50.5. Troy's really going to struggle to move the ball. That's a big game, too, between Troy and Southern Miss. The winner of that game goes to the Sun Belt Championship game. So Southern Miss minus 6.5 or under. I'm not mad at either of those. I didn't take it, though. Kind of like Missouri to dominate Arkansas, another one I didn't take. But if you can get Missouri at 3.5. Oregon, Washington, I don't know. I think 7's perfect. I don't really have an opinion on that one. If you can get 6.5, Oregon, 7.5, I would start to lean towards the other side. Florida State, another one where I really don't have an opinion. I would probably, now that it's down to 1.5, close to a pick, probably lean towards the Florida side. I have some bets. Where are the ones I actually bet? I took North Carolina plus 7.5. Looks like it's at 7 now. Yeah, I think North Carolina plays them tough. I think they're able to slow down that offense. I'm on Auburn plus 5.5. I talked about that one on the live show. That's another one I bet. I'm on the over in the SMU Cal game, but I think I got 50. It's at 53.5 now, so that number's kind of sailed. I really like Hawaii minus 7.5. I can't believe it's still at 7.5. We talked about this one on the live show. I think that number should be like 13, which, yes, is a little alarming that I'm so far off. But Wyoming, their season's over. Not only is their offense, they're averaging 5.7 points per game in their last 3. They have 17 combined points. They just lost their main running back, their main receiver. So not only is their offense terrible, but they just lost their 2 main weapons, flying across the Pacific to play Hawaii. Alajado's been going off. I know he had a shaky game last week against UNLV, but in the 5 games before that, he was going off. I don't know how that's only 7.5. I think that should be way higher. I like that one. I'm on Hawaii. Yeah, hopefully I didn't forget it. They're all posted on the website as always, and I'll be posting Saturday night late when some other lines open. I'll be posting conference championship bets. They're posted on the website under picks. Yeah, everyone. Be back tomorrow for an NFL video. Thanks for watching as always. Have a good Saturday.